Hey everyone, my name is Matt. I'm the youth family pastor at Cornerstone Church in Marshfield. Here today with your Cornerstone Connection, a daily devotional. So today, as we continue our journey through Joshua, we get to chapter 20, and we're going to see something that may look a little bit familiar to you because of some of our reading previously in the Old Testament. We've heard about these cities of refuge that the Lord sets apart for the people of Israel. And these cities of refuge are in particular for people who are guilty of manslaughter. Now, let me define manslaughter for you. Yeah, this is a very happy Cornerstone connection. Manslaughter is different than murder. Manslaughter would be an unintentional killing of a person through accident. Maybe they were working on building something and the hammer flew out of somebody's hand and it hit them in the head and it killed them. Okay, something like this. Murder would have been intentional killing. So God sets apart these different cities as cities of refuge so that justice can be exercised, so that there can be fair trial, and so that a person who has been convicted of manslaughter can go to these different cities and they can have a place where they are safe, and then they can then have a fair trial to make sure that what they committed was actually manslaughter and not murder, and they can be kept safe from the avenger of blood. Now, I've done a lot of explaining already, but let's jump into the text. And there is something within this text that is so awesome. I've told you before, one of my favorite things about the Bible is no matter where you read it, some way, somehow, it points us to Jesus. And our text does that today. So check this out. Join me in Joshua chapter 20. We're just going to read verses 1 through 6. Here's what it says. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Say to the people of Israel, appoint the cities of refuge, of which I spoke to you through Moses, that the manslayer who strikes any person without intent or unknowingly may flee there. They shall be for you a refuge from the avenger of blood. He shall flee to one of these cities, and shall stand at the entrance of the gate of the city, and explain his case to the elders of that city. Then they shall take him into the city, and give him a place, and he shall remain with them. And if the avenger of blood pursues him, they shall not, the elders, not give up the manslayer into his hand, because he struck his neighbor unknowingly, and did not hate him in the past." Now listen to this. "And he," that would be the manslayer, "he shall remain in that city until he has stood before the congregation for judgment." So there we go. We get fair justice here going on, okay? Now listen, until the death of him who is high priest at that time. Then the manslayer may return to his own town and his own home, to the town from which he fled. Now, what I want to point out to us today, and again, ultimately point us to Jesus, is what it tells us in verse 6. Okay, so the manslayer, he goes to one of these cities of refuge because he believes he's killed somebody unintentionally, unknowingly, and so they give him a safe place to reside so that the avenger of blood doesn't take his life. And eventually he's going to be able to meet with the congregation for judgment. They're going to hear his case and they're going to decide, is this guy a manslayer or is he a murderer? And if he is a manslayer, he is to stay in the city of refuge until the one who is high priest dies. Then he is able to leave that city of refuge and he is to be free from the avenger of blood. The avenger of blood cannot take his life because this high priest has died. This death has covered the unintentional sin of the manslayer. The death of this high priest has covered the sin unintentional of the manslayer. Are you starting to see how this points us ultimately to Jesus? If you were to flip the Bible over to the end of the New Testament just about and get to Hebrews, you go to chapter 4, we read something in verses 14 through 16 about Jesus. It says this, "Since then we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God. Let us hold fast our confession. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us then with confidence draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need." Friends, do you see the picture here today? The manslayer in Joshua chapter 20 that God is talking about, he will be set completely free from what he has done when the high priest there dies. And he can go back to his city, he can dwell free from any guilt and free from any worry that his life is going to be taken by the avenger of blood. And just like him, You and I, who put our faith and our trust in Jesus Christ, who is our great high priest, who was tempted in every way that you and I are, yet without sin, and who endured the cross, who died and was in the grave, but rose from the dead and ascended into heaven and passed through the heavens, as the writer of Hebrews says. He is the one who sets us free from our guilt. He's the one who sets us free from our sin. He is the one who allows us to live in freedom, who allows us to approach God with confidence, to approach the throne of grace with confidence, because it's there that we receive mercy and we receive grace. Praise God for our great high priest, Jesus Christ. To have confidence in him and be encouraged by what he's done for you today, friends. Have a great day. We'll see you next time on the Cornerstone Connection.